What's up, y'all? Back for day 3 on my Talking Football rookie season here at Sky Talk Sports. But if you haven't yet, go over there and follow me on Twitter. Also, Skylar Sports, at Skylar Sports on Twitter. That's where I let the thumbs go, baby, and the words fly. But question today, is the Texas A&M football team done? Is the season over for this year? That seems to be the talk around, and I've been on the downside too. I mean, if you do follow me on Twitter, you'll see that I have been very critical, and I think I'm just voicing my opinion on Twitter that is a lot of the same opinions that are floating around Aggie world right now. But the short of the answer is no, the season is not over for the Aggies quite yet. And I'll get into why. I mean, yes, there are things to be depressed about. I mean, we cannot cover the pass right now very well. Our defensive scheme has seemed off. We don't stuff the run as well. I don't know where that came up. I guess because we just saw that New Mexico, yeah, whatever. I don't think you should even really count stats in games like that. However, take it over into this last game against Miami, and we had whatever the stat sheet came out to, 24 attempts for 77 yards or something like that. And so everybody broke that down. Oh, yeah, they stopped the run. Here's what people forgot about that, okay? 2 of those attempts were just in the stat sheet. They're sacks that we got against Tyler Van Dyke. And we sacked him for minus 12. And so really and truthfully, don't count that against the rushing stats. Knock those off and really come back and say that you had 22 attempts for 89 yards, which gives you a 4.0 something yards per attempt, which is not good. I mean, go ask an offensive coordinator any in the world, high school, junior high, college, pro, Pop Warner, whatever you want to do, and say, hey, if I took your passing game away, but I gave you 4 yards per carry, would you take that? 1,000% they're going to say yes, because 4 times 3 is what? 12. 12. First down, 10. So 4 yards a carry is not a good average to be given up as a defense, and it dang sure does not correlate to stuffing the run or playing good run defense. However, when you're able to average 17 point something yards a pass, and you're hitting also big ones at 64 and 52 and 44 and 30 and 20, you don't have to run the ball as much, because that's a whole lot of yards that you're scooping up in one pass attempt. And so you can get down the field, or some of those long touchdowns, you score so fast you don't have to run the ball and sustain a drive. So that's, the numbers. I'm a math guy, so I'd never say numbers lie. But at the same time, they can be deceiving when you look at it as, we only gave up 77 yards. Well, you actually gave up 89 yards, and they only carried the ball 22 times, and they averaged 4 yards a carry. You don't get a gold sticker for giving up 4 yards a carry. However, all that aside, Connor Wegman playing his butt off. The dude is even better than what some people think, because you can watch a game from a fan standpoint and say, man, he threw another touchdown pass, or he hasn't thrown many interceptions too in his whole career, and one of them was a slip and the other one was just a prayer for a touchdown to try to get us within one score to get an onside kick and yada, yada, yada. He's more than that. The reason we don't see him getting sacked as much isn't from a stellar blocking scheme. It's because he's been smart enough to accept the snap and slide the direction he needs to slide to give himself an extra half second to get the ball off. He's looking off receivers, or looking off safeties and zipping balls into areas that, if you slow it down and look from a different angle on the camera, there looks to be no throw possible. He's throwing receivers open is what he's doing. He's in situations that it looks like he might have thrown the ball behind somebody. Sometimes he does. Everybody does. But I've seen multiple situations where it looks like Connor might have thrown the ball behind somebody, but he's actually throwing it away from the defender. Therefore, when our receiver catches it, he's able to spin into it and get up the field from where yards. Now, we don't always do that, but he is doing that. He's reading coverages great. Now, Jimbo did say that he messed up a couple slides or, mic declarations to help the line know which way they're going to slide off this, that, and the other. And there were a few times that we did see that he had a ghost corner coming up, and you can clearly see that he saw him pre-snap and didn't think, I got to get it right to my check down or my flat route or my hot route or whatever you want to call it off of that, and force the ball somewhere else. He's still young, and he's still going to make some boneheaded plays. But for the most part, over 90% of the time, Connor is doing things that are even better than what the naked eye sees him do. So that's a huge, huge plus for the Aggies moving down the road. Our backs, I don't care what Jimbo says right now, our backs are horrible at pass protection blocking, but when running the ball, they're actually doing a pretty good job. They run hard, they drive their legs, they're fast as hell, and we're pretty tough. There's a few times Amari just bull rushes into a line instead of using his eyes and finding some lanes that have been opened up to run through. But that's going to happen. That happens in the NFL every day of the week. We watched that in the Jets Bills game the other night. Multiple times, guys could have bounced it or missed a lane, and that's the speed of the game that people that are never around that on an actual on-field level don't understand how fast those athletes are actually moving. And therefore, it's really easy to sit here and watch the TV and go, oh, man, you missed that hole, when in all reality, if they handed you the ball, you'd get stuck in the mouth and dropped right there before you ever even made it to the line of scrimmage, because those guys are so much faster than what the average human is used to dealing with on a day-to-day basis or sees at their local high school or their son's junior high game or whatever it is. So that's going to happen. But for the most part, those guys with the ball in their hand are doing really good. I would love to see them do a little more without the ball in their hand, because one, that gives Connor a little more time, and two, it just makes us better across the board. But with the ball in their hand, they're playing good. The receivers are really doing good for the most part. It's really just been that defensive side, which is giving us problems, and that bugs you when you look into it, when you see that you got a line of five-star guys up front there. You've got a defensive coordinator that's tied as 8th in the entire college football world for highest paid defense coordinators. Durkin's making $1.5 million a year. Our D-line coach is one of the highest paid in the world. He's making a little over $1 million a year to coach the D-line, and we're stacked with 5 stars, and we can't get pressure on the quarterback. Now, granted, we had 2 sacks. 2 sacks is pretty good. I get it. There was a lot of time that Tyler Van Dyke had, an eternity. I can't talk. An eternity to throw the football. And the longer here's something to remember, which most of y'all probably know this, but if you haven't thought about it before, the longer a quarterback has to throw a football, the worse your secondary coverage becomes. Guys that are running routes, they know where they're going. If they get into a scramble drill, they have the advantage to set you up. The longer the quarterback has to throw the ball, the worse your secondary gets. There's a short period of time in there when a receiver's running his route and a DB is in coverage that it's a pretty even matchup. If a quarterback has to catch the ball, set his feet, throw the ball, the timing on that from when you're taking your break step to making a play on the ball and the receiver's taking his break step to make a play on the ball, it's pretty even. The longer that quarterback has to throw and the longer that receiver has to lead you around, the worse your coverage gets. You go from here to spreading out to here, and the gaps in between get much larger. There's a lot more space to sit down. There's a lot more area for bad things to happen to defenders. And so, yes, secondary is not playing fantastic, but at the same time, if we get more pressure on the quarterback, I promise you, it'll look like the secondary is playing a lot better. Back to the front, Why is this not the end of the world for the Aggies? Here it is. Pretty simple. Alabama's not Alabama this year. I think we saw that in Texas, and not just in Texas, being able to manhandle them all across the field, but at the same time in the fact that Jaden Milroe's not a quarterback of Alabama old. I mean, he's just not. He's a very athletic human being, but he is not a stellar quarterback. And their running game didn't look strong either. Keep going with that same system. Tennessee's not playing really great right now. They beat Austin Peay by 17. Auburn should have lost to Cal. Ole Miss squeaking by with Tulane. I mean, you just keep going down the list, on and on. Mississippi State, they're 119th in their passing attack right now when they're usually number one every year. I mean, just everything that you look at on our side of the ball. LSU gets trashed by FSU, which FSU's really good, so don't forget that. But LSU's not as good as everybody thought LSU was going to be coming into it. There's an open slate on the west side of the SEC for the Ags to still hang on. If we correct what we need to correct, which I know it's a broken freaking record. But point being, the talent for A&M matches the talent across the board. And the quarterback play at A&M is as good as any quarterback play in the SEC. Yes, even Jefferson over at Arkansas. It's just as good as his. They're struggling right now also. This is not something to freak out about yet. Yeah, we're going to freak out every time the Aggies don't do what we think they're going to do because Jimbo makes $100 million and he should have us in a position in year 6, knowing what's coming next year. We should be on top of the world right now, and we're not, and that pisses people off, and that causes overreaction, and that's just a byproduct of him not doing what should be done. However, it's not over for the Aggies quite yet. With everybody else playing below their potential this year, we have a chance to still fix this and make a run. And we're going to find a lot out about Georgia this weekend because, you know, it's obvious that Georgia should go in there and just absolutely thrash South Carolina this week. But Beamer's a great coach. Spencer Rattler's a really good quarterback when he's on his game. When he's off his game, he sucks. When he's on his game, he's a really good quarterback. South Carolina has a little bit of talent out there, and they could make a play to really show us where some Georgia weaknesses are right now. I don't believe this is a three-peat year for Georgia. I don't think they're going to do it. So I do think that there is a little bit that we could learn this week in that game and give us hope as Ags to run the table like we can do, talent-wise, and somehow find ourselves in that SEC championship game against Georgia. And if we can do that, who the hell knows? We might find ourselves in a position that has everybody praising Jimbo instead of trying to run him out of town. I don't know. I'm not on that bandwagon all the way yet. I'm not on the season's over bandwagon. I'm not on the we're about to go 11-1 bandwagon. I am in a line saying it's not as bad as it seems. We have the right parts. We've got all the ingredients to make the best potluck dinner that somebody's ever eaten. I mean, Grandma could cook a bad-to-the-bone casserole with the ingredients that we have right now. However, the people that are in charge of mixing those ingredients together, they've got to get it figured out because right now we have discarded the recipe and we're just mixing crap in a bowl. If we get the recipe back out, we mix the right ingredients that we have, we're going to have an absolute banger supper, and the Aggies are going to eat good for the rest of the SEC season. That's my take. See y'all back tomorrow. Peace.